Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar video, and this is a big one because we finally have some Avatar Studios news. It's been a really long time since we had anything of substance related to Avatar Studios, and especially because this is like our first time getting any sense of what the first projects might actually be about. So most of you will have probably seen this from Avatar News and the article that he put up about an Avatar prequel movie, as well as a Zuko focused film. So this is an interesting one because there's a little bit more to it than just this, but he says, I can finally reveal the first concrete bits of what I know about Paramount and Avatar Studios' epic upcoming movie and show slate. A rumor has been going around recently that one of their movies will be a prequel. I got the go-ahead from my source to confirm that this is true. Now, what rumor is that? The best I can find is that it's this clip here from Grace Randolph and her live stream that she did. This is just the actual Avatar clip from overall, I think, what's like a 45-minute live stream where she covers other topics. But just randomly towards the end, she does just throw out this bit of information. I don't think anyone specifically asked about it, but she just threw it out there. And I'll just let you guys listen to this, and you'll see that it relates to what Avatar News was saying.
They have a very cool Avatar: The Last Airbender kind of like prequel movie that's going to be animated that they're working on. I think it's going to be for streaming. I can't tell you anything about it because I've been sworn to secrecy about who it's about, but I know the people will be very excited about it, and it's supposed to have very cool animation that's like cutting edge. So Avatar: The Last Airbender announcements are coming.
Okay, so straight away, that's interesting. Some of that we did not know before, and that feels somewhat accurate because the little bit at the end there that she maybe didn't seem to know the full details about cutting edge animation, that is one of the only other few times we've actually had information about Avatar Studios, about how initially we thought, oh, they're using CG, but now it looks like it's going to be sort of a hybrid 2D CG style, so 2D, 3D style. Everyone's mentioning, Into the Spider-Verse and stuff like that. So I think that adds, credibility to what's being said here. Now, obviously, it just says Avatar prequel style thing. She can't speak more about it because I guess if she did, she would reveal who the movie is about. But at the end there, she said Avatar announcements coming soon. So I think this speaks, along with the fact that obviously Avatar News has an insider source with the Zuko movie information. It speaks to this idea that insiders are actually beginning to get information about the Avatar Studios projects, whereas previously there just plain has not been any information. So now we know prequel, an Avatar prequel. And now the obvious question is, like, what does that actually mean? When I think of prequel, I do think that it means it is a prequel to another story, as in it's related in some way, but it could also just mean that it is set before ATLA. Because like a prequel, I would think would have to be tied in a way where it's like about the Air Nomad genocide, or it's about sort of Iroh's backstory in the lead up to kind of everything that happens. But I'm not sure necessarily that that's going to be what they do. So that's why I think I roughly agree with what like Avatar News is going for here with the image that he uses of Wan, as in like another Avatar, where it's still technically a prequel. It's one of the earlier Avatars, but it's not super close to ATLA. It's just set before that. Now, there's so many options they can do, of course, with this, but if this potentially is the first project that comes out, the first movie, we know that is the first Avatar Studios project is a movie. And now that we know there are two movies, it's hard to know which one is which, but there seems to be a little bit more information out there about the prequel, maybe suggesting that it's first. So interesting that they maybe seem to be going with a non-Avatar, non-Korra thing first. I suppose non-Aang, non-Korra thing first, and are potentially going for a new Avatar, or the really obvious one that I think a lot of people are going to suggest straight away is Kyoshi. If you look at the clip that I posted there, obviously she was live streaming on YouTube. The couple of comments that were Avatar related reacting to that did say Kyoshi straight away. So even her fans were kind of being like, oh, Kyoshi? So it speaks to the idea that in terms of avatars beyond Aang and Korra, Kyoshi definitely is the one who has definitely made a splash and people remember and want more on Kyoshi. So I'm hoping that at Avatar Studios they are aware of just how popular Kyoshi is before the novels and especially now post novels. So there is the potential for that. So let's go back to the article here. Yeah, the time period for the prequel movie is not confirmed. Basically anything before ATLA is a prequel, so it's not necessarily connected. It could be, that's basically what I just discussed. Yeah, it could be Wan, Kyoshi, Iroh, and so on. The time period for the Zuko movie will where the Zuko movie will be set is also not confirmed. We don't know what age he'll be in it or anything like that yet. However, this does implicitly confirm that yes, the Avatar franchise is officially revisiting the existing characters' eras in animation. So they won't just be working on completely new stuff. And that is nice to know. For people who are just hardcore fans of, say, like just ATLA, maybe ATLA and Korra, there is hope that they're doing their new stuff, but there will also be some sense of a continuation or extra content for the parts of the franchise that we already know about. And so, yeah, a Zuko movie definitely fits into that. Now, he's obviously been teasing things as well because he obviously has this insider source. These are just two of the animated projects in the work, and trust me, there's a lot more exciting stuff where that came from. I'm hoping I can post one particular animated streaming series soon that should make a lot of people happy, but something really important to keep in mind is that it's still really early and a lot could be different by the time stuff starts actually coming out in a couple/few soon years. This is just a snapshot of what's being developed right now, and plans are still in flux as Avatar Studios gets going. And yeah, update if there's any changes. So there you have it. Yeah. So interesting stuff straight away. Zuko focused story is the other movie. Now, that one's probably a little bit more interesting to speculate about because I think there's really only one option they have for that, and that is they pretty much, I think, have to make this the adult gang story, but it just happens to be Zuko focused. In the same way that, like, The Search, the comic, it features a bunch of the main cast members, but it is ultimately Zuko and Azulla focused. I don't think it means it's, Zuko solo story or anything like that. I do think it just means that the plot of this movie will involve all these characters, but will be mainly about what's going on with Zuko. And I think that makes sense because I think a lot of the things that we want to know about from this kind of gap period probably are Zuko related. One is obviously just the fate of Azulla, and Azulla is obviously linked in with Zuko in terms of what she's doing post Smoke and Shadow in the comics. So there's, I think, a need to do that sort of stuff. So the immediate thing that would spring to mind for me would be the movie that resolves, I suppose, finally all of the family drama within the royal family. So Zuko and Azulla's dynamic is set for what we're doing going forward. Azulla finally talks to Ursa, and we have whatever resolution we're doing with Azulla, whether it's a partial redemption or we're committing to her being the villain and we can't really save her, or whatever they want to do. Again, it's very unclear about what exact path they're going to take. But it is notable that the comics, in terms of like Azulla's story, have stopped as of 2016 and Smoke and Shadow Part 3. We haven't heard anything since then. Similarly, I think what also adds to this is that obviously the Avatar comics have stopped telling important stories or stories that in any way advance the plot going forward after Imbalance. So why would they just completely grind things to a halt? Potentially because this movie is going to be set in or around that timeline, and they don't want more comics to expand into that timeline. Now, Obviously, that's just pure speculation, but I think that adds to it because I don't think they're going to do like Korra era Zuko. I don't think there's too much value in doing, say, like a Zuko prequel type thing of like before ATLA, because I just don't think there's enough content there for a full movie. Meaning you either have to adapt the comics, which I don't think they're going to want to do. And so because of that, they probably have to do the either immediately after Imbalance or like a couple of years after Imbalance, depending on what age they want the characters to be. Do they want like early 20s gang, or do they want sort of like mid 20s gang? I think that that's the general time period people want out of Zuko in content going forward. And they can obviously focus on stuff with sort of early Republic City, the transition from Cranefish into being Republic City, what the United Republic of Nations, how it all came together. Because up to now, like, we haven't really seen Zuko's involvement in Cranefish, so that would allow that to be a plot point, while he also maybe is dealing with the more personal issues of his family dynamics and so on. It would be a way with Zuko as the focus to finally, once and for all, confirm, like, potentially who Zuko marries, who is Azumi's mother. Is it May? Hopefully it's May. And they can bring that all together. The only other thing I want to mention with regards to, say, the comics and what I potentially think the story is that if they are going to have Azulla be important in this, it does feel like you are going to have to do something in that movie to catch people up on what has happened in the comics, because Azulla's story pretty much requires Ursa to move forward. And if people haven't read the comics, they're going to be like, wait, where did Ursa come from? So are they just going to like stick to the idea of the comics out there, it's on you to read it, or will they address some of what's actually happened? Similarly, the Arc of Azulla post-series, are they going to feel the need to catch us up with like stuff, or so on? So we might see like partial adaptation of key scenes from the comics just to act as like, just so you have the context needed. But otherwise, I'm not really sure, because it's hard to really picture what the plots are for the older gang, because I think most of the fandom just wants to see them. See the characters, see the designs of the characters when they're older. And the only real plot is just the development of Republic City and whatever goes on there. And then, like, we know the Yukon incident happens at some point, and more political stuff, the characters being leaders, the personal events in their lives, like them getting married, having children. But the movie can't cover all of those things. So there has to be more of a character arc, the event thing that happens. So that's why I'm thinking, you know, Azulla being the catalyst and for a lot of this to happen, and just we need to deal with this right now as important stuff with Republic City is happening. And you could maybe throw in the idea of like, what if one of the other couples is getting married at the time? That way you have a couple of key events happening at this point, and you allow the movie to, in a way, tell the last super, super important story of the ATLA era. In that, based on what we know, Mike and Brian want to tell like new stories. So I can understand from their perspective them maybe not wanting to have like a series, a spin-off, multiple movies, all just ATLA, ATLA, ATLA. But I think they realize they have to give us something. So, you know, I can see the potential in some sort of a, okay, this movie will answer a lot of the final questions that you have. And then you can more or less say with ATLA, we'll leave the rest of it aside for one of the smaller projects, like the shorts, like they're kind of teasing that they might do, or a kind of spin-off series, or the comics and novels to do. I think that's a good way to do it. You tell your last important story in a big movie, you get all the ATLA fans to go out to see it, and then the comics can set about to telling any other side stories that need to be told. I think that's probably the best way to do it. And then you have this other Avatar prequel movie to highlight that here is what we can do, and here's what the studio can do doing new stuff or doing stuff that you've only seen in comics or novels, in terms of like a full-on Kyoshi series, highlighting that look how well we can characterize Kyoshi, who you've mainly only seen in like a handful of scenes within the show, but you novel fans will be very, very up to speed on what's going on. So I'm definitely excited to see what happens here. The main thing coming out of this for me is probably just that this information existing means that like it came from somewhere, meaning that they're maybe getting ready to actually properly announce some of this stuff, which is where we should in a way be as a fandom. Is that, look, it's still going to probably be the core of 2+ years until we actually see trailers and see one of these projects get released. But an announcement of what they're working on and a first look in terms of here's the title and like a key visual, those are the sort of things where like, yeah, it feels like we're maybe getting into range of that stuff happening. So people have pointed out that there is the Paramount upfront event happening. Is it next week, I think? Now, I don't know if that actually is an event where significant stuff typically happens, but it would make sense. They didn't talk about Avatar at all at the investors meeting event. It would be nice for them to mention something here. If not, then San Diego Comic-Con's coming up in July, and then we have New York Comic-Con coming up in October. And it feels like this probably is the year to do the early announcement and talk about basically what's being discussed here, which is that 2 movies, and then Avatar News also seems to have a little bit of a scoop that he can't quite reveal yet I'm hoping I can post a particular animated streaming series soon. So right now, but based on this, it seems like he actually knows what the streaming series is about. So I'm guessing outside the insiders out there do know theoretically what the first 3 projects actually are. Now, again, what way will they actually announce that? I'm not sure. But if you look at the way, say, like Star Wars has done things in the past, and they've done these announcement events, even something just like a logo, followed by another logo, just kind of getting across that this is the first stage of our plan. These are the first few projects that we're working on. And then even if they say even anything about, say, publishing to add to that, that could be quite good, because they are definitely at the early stage where they can get a lot out of saying very little officially, because so far they have been not saying anything. Like, what was it, just last week on the Brave and the Elements podcast, or was it the week before, Mike and Brian were on, and they were asked about Avatar Studios, but all they said was effectively repeating what they said before. Animation takes time, we can't really say anything yet, it's all super secret, but when the stuff does start to come out, there'll be a lot of it. That's the gist of what they said, which is basically what the initial announcement of Avatar Studios was. So, again, right now we're in the position where we're just waiting to see this stuff get officially announced, so we can stop talking about Avatar Studios as just this mysterious thing that will eventually lead to stuff at some point, and instead we can be like, there is a movie coming out in like a year and a half, 2 years. It is called this. We have a rough idea of what it's going to be about. And for anyone asking what's the next big Avatar thing, we can just point to Avatar Prequel movie or Zuko movie as what's actually happening here. So, yeah, hopefully this just leads to news actually beginning to come out. I'm very interested to just see how they go about doing an announcement, in that will it be one project at a time? Will they announce a few at once because they're highlighting the amount of projects as well? But yeah, interesting stuff. The Zuko film, like I said, feels like that is probably the film that I think most people are predicting, which is a look into the older gang, focused just on, I guess, a major story for him, as the main character, which I think is a good way to do things in the sense that, like, say, Aang was the focus character for most of the series, and so Zuko now gets the spotlight for this movie. Aang will likely still be in this, Katara will be here, Sokka, Toph, and so on, but Zuko will lead the story. And then in terms of the prequel, very interesting stuff here in terms of, like, it could be a little bit of anything. This could also be set in, like, the 100-Year War era, and so be actually quite close to ATLA. It could be a Roku story and actually relate to the information we got for the role-playing game, like Zaysan and so on, Sozan's sister. That could be something potential. I hesitate to say that just because of the way they revealed that information, but, you know, Roku is the Avatar before Aang, so that would technically make it a prequel. If Korra is the sequel series, Roku is the prequel, so that's how that works. Otherwise, like, I don't think they're doing Yang Chen because they're doing the novels, and the timing, like, of that just feels weird if they were also doing that. Which leaves Kyoshi. Like, she's had her 2 books. She's super, super popular and has always been. That's an option. And then if not Kyoshi, I think you probably are just covering a new Avatar somewhere in the past. And I think that's probably the main takeaway from this, is that I think that's what most people wanted from something new, was a new past Avatar. And that's good. I personally, like I said before, would agree with, like, the direction of this, of I prefer it to be an earlier Avatar, just to explore what is right now a relatively small glimpse into the kind of early history of the Avatar. I'd love to see more of that with, say, for example, the second Avatar. That way you can explore Wan's legacy and address some of what's happened there without feeling the need to stretch out his story more than what we already knew. That's I think probably the best of both worlds. Like, second Avatar, I think is a really good idea. Or pretty much any of the first, like, 5 avatars are interesting. The first 4 for the first avatar of each element, and then the 5th one for obviously the first avatar who has a past lives of one of each. So you've come back around. That's sort of interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of options now. I like that it's sort of focused our discussions a little bit on, okay, so we know right now that at least when it comes to the movies, they're not going for, like, Avatar after Korra. So we're not talking about the future. And then when it comes to the streaming series, that should make a lot of people happy. That's interesting as well, because what Grace Randolph said in the video here, as well as what Avatar News is saying here, is like, I know the fandom enough to know that what this series, what this movie is about, will excite people. So it gives you, like, the license to be like, okay, so it's about something popular that people are actually interested in. My take on, like, you know, something that I suppose is known for a series perspective would be also Kyoshi. I think is very much an option for a series. That would be really cool, especially because she has, like, 200 plus years of extra history to add on to. Because she lives so long, it would allow you to do a little bit of a almost anthology series just focused on the one character, because she lives through, like, you know, 4 or 5 generations, give or take. So there you have that option with Kyoshi for sure. And then beyond that, like, I'd be okay with sort of just general anthology Avatar series. I'd be okay with a sequel to Korra. It's just exciting to finally, I suppose, want to speculate about Avatar Studios again, because it felt like everyone did their speculation like a year and a quarter ago when Avatar Studios got announced. And there's been no need to add to it since then, because we've had, like, no information at all about anything. So at least now we have a little bit more direction on where we're speculating about. So that's basically all there is to talk about right now. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are. Avatar prequel movie, Zuko film. and a little bit of a teaser about the first series. So what are your thoughts here on Avatar Studios? What do you think these projects will actually be? What stories will they tell? But that has been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.